Hello and seasons of readings, which is what my sweater says. I have this new bookish sweater for the holidays, which I really just want to wear all month. And so I hope you're having a great holiday season. Today I'm going to talk about a couple of just wonderful science fiction and fantasy books that I've read recently, and they both incidentally feature non-romantic relationships between the two main characters as the heart of each of these books. So the first book is Bloodline by Claudia Gray, and this is my second ever Star Wars novel. My first was Claudia Gray's Lost Stars, which I also loved a lot. Bloodline, though, this one is about Leia. We all love Leia. And this book takes place a few years before the action of Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and we get a lot of political background to what happens in Force Awakens. So we open the book in the New Republic, in the Senate. Leia is dealing with the gridlock of the Senate, which she obviously finds disheartening and so very frustrating. Then information comes to light to the Senate. There is a rise of a new criminal organization, and Leia jumps on this opportunity. So she wants to rise above the bickering of the Senate and actually get shit done. So she volunteers to investigate this new threat. Then, all the way across the aisle from her, just opposite political beliefs, there's this other senator. His name's Casterfo, and he volunteers to co-manage this mission with Leia. So Casterfo basically invites himself onto Leia's kind of vacation from the Senate almost, but also onto this very dangerous mission. And this is the start of a fascinating dynamic between Leia and Casterfo. Very basically, the difference between their political beliefs is that Leia believes in individual planet autonomy, whereas Casterfo believes in strong central government. And the initial draw to this book might be to see Leia being incredibly awesome, and she's so great in this book. But also, we get an amazing character in Casterfo. I'm going to just introduce you to his inner turmoil. He has a strong desire for the Order of Empire, but he also hates Darth Vader to his core. Casterfo is an interesting character. The conflicts within himself, Leia's inner conflicts, and then the conflicts between the two of them, all really interesting fodder for this book. And so I love their relationship and the ways that their mission goes and other things as they deal with the Senate and the Republic. It is so good, and I love that dynamic. Really, it's such a good one. At the heart of this book, the Leia-Casterfo dynamic, it makes it such an enjoyable book to read. Moving along, I also want to talk about Creatures of Will and Temper. It's by Molly Tanzer, and to sell me on this book, all one would need to say is that it's a fantasy era, or Victorian era, that's the words, Victorian era fantasy novel with terrific fencing scenes, and then I would be sold, because that sounds amazing. But this book is also so much more. Let's start with the author's introduction to this book. She calls it a fantastic variation on the picture of Dorian Gray, which sounds so very good. And without delving into a lot of context around this phrasing, the fantastic elements of this include things like demons and diabolic cults, which are really cool, and the variation on Dorian Gray. Dare I say this might be an improvement upon the story. It's explicitly queer, and it's also just like a gorgeous feminist reinvention of the Dorian Gray story. One of our main characters in this is Evadne. She's a fencer, and she cares nothing for fancy Victorian London society, but she's forced to chaperone her little sister, who's the other main character. Her name is Dorina. She's an aspiring art critic, very open to the aesthetic experience. And so they are going to London for an extended stay with their uncle Basil. Yes, Basil Hallward from Dorian Gray, which is really exciting. And in London, Dorina quickly becomes enamored with Lady Henrietta Watson, aka Henry. And they're very appreciative of aesthetics, whereas Evadne, she becomes enamored with an actual fencing school to train at. She trains with also a really excellent fencing instructor. Then very soon, each of the sisters are individually introduced to the secret world of demons, and then the paranormal thriller of this starts. But really more interesting than the paranormal of this is the combative relationship between Evadne and Dorina. They've always struggled to get along, and the nuanced troubles that they have with each other are depicted in really interesting, rich ways, even when one of their motives is born of sisterly love, it still manages to get twisted and incites more conflict between the two of them. So the ways that their relationships develop and plays out throughout this book is just very wholly satisfying. And so in this, I love the reinvention on Dorian Gray and the art and the wit, the swordplay with terrific fencing scenes, and above all, at the heart of it, the sisterly relationships between our main characters. And so those are just two really excellent books that I hope you enjoyed hearing about. Happy reading, happy holidays, till next time, my lovelies.